absolute advantage and comparative advantage. In order to produce goods and services, you need resources called factors of production: land, labour, capital, and entrepreneurship. You can illustrate the potential output of an economy by drawing a production possibility frontier. Imagine a country only produces olives and cars. If all factors of production were used to produce cars, 60,000 could be produced, but no olives would be produced. If the country allocated all resources to olive production, they would produce 120,000 tonnes of olives, but no cars. If the country decided to produce some cars, say 10,000, they would have to move resources away from olive production, causing output of olives to fall, and the 20,000 tonnes of olive output that is given up is the opportunity cost of the 10,000 cars. We can also calculate the opportunity cost ratio by taking the maximum values of each good and then cancelling down. The opportunity cost of one car is 2 tonnes of olives. The opportunity cost of 1 tonne of olives is half a car. Imagine this country is Italy. Let's add another country and show the PPF and opportunity cost ratios for that country. As Italy appears to be better at olive production and Germany at car production, the countries are likely to benefit from trade. We can also identify suitable terms of trade which show a possible rate of exchange which the countries could agree to. The rate will lie in between the opportunity cost ratios for the two countries. As Italy would need to give up half a car to produce a tonne of olives, they will sell for any price above half a car. As Germany would need to give up 2 cars to produce a tonne of olives, they would be willing to buy for any price below 2 cars. Therefore, a rate of 1 tonne of olives to 1 car would suit both. Italy receives more cars than they could produce themselves with the resources used to produce the tonne of olives they sell. Germany is able to buy for fewer cars than they would give up if they produced the tonne of olives themselves. Originally, if Italy had split resources equally between olive and car production, they would have been able to produce 60,000 tonnes of olives and 30,000 cars. However, if they specialised and allocated all resources into olive production, they could produce 120,000 tonnes. They could then retain 60,000 tonnes for themselves and trade the other 60 for 60,000 cars. This enables Italy to achieve combinations for consumption that are beyond its PPF, with an extra 30,000 cars for use than if they had not specialised and traded. And Germany would receive gains in the same manner. Trade is beneficial for both countries. Now, it might seem fairly obvious that trade makes sense when one country is better at producing one thing and another country is better at producing another thing. We describe this idea of being better as having an absolute advantage. The country can produce more overall or is more productive with a given quantity of factors than the other country. But what if one country is better than the other country at the production of both goods? If one country has absolute advantage in production of both goods, is trade still going to be beneficial? Let's look at the opportunity cost ratio for Luxembourg. For every tonne of olives, they would give up 1 car, and vice versa. Now, let's compare the opportunity cost ratios. To produce 1 tonne of olives, Italy's opportunity cost is half a car given up. Luxembourg's is higher, with 1 car given up. This would mean that Italy would have what we would call comparative advantage in olive production. Because they're giving up fewer cars, the opportunity cost is lower. They should specialise in the production of olives. To produce 1 car, Italy's opportunity cost is 2 tonnes of olives. Luxembourg's is lower, with only 1 tonne given up. This would mean that Luxembourg has comparative advantage in car production. They are giving up fewer olives. The opportunity cost is lower. They should specialise in the production of cars. We can then look for suitable terms of trade. Italy would need to give up half a car to produce a tonne of olives. So they will sell for any price above half a car. Luxembourg would need to give up 1 car to produce a tonne of olives. So they would be willing to buy for any price below 1 car. Therefore, a rate of 1 tonne of olives to 3/4 of a car would suit both. Originally, with no trade, Italy's consumption is constrained by its PPF. However, if they specialise, allocating a large proportion of resources into olive production and produce 100,000 tonnes of olives and 10,000 cars, they could then retain 80,000 tonnes for themselves and give up the other 20 for trade. At the exchange rate of 1 tonne to 3/4 of a car, they would receive 15,000 extra cars. Had they given up the 20,000 tonnes to make the extra cars themselves, they would only have made 10 extra. So by specialising in trading, they receive an extra 5,000 cars. This is not as beneficial as trade with Germany, but it still enables Italy to achieve combinations for consumption that are beyond its PPF, with an extra 5,000 cars for use than if they had not specialised and traded. Originally, with no trade, Luxembourg's consumption is constrained by its PPF. However, if they specialised and allocated all resources into car production and produced 50,000 cars and no olives, they could then retain 35,000 cars for themselves and give up the other 15,000 for trade. At the exchange rate of 1 tonne to 3/4 of a car, they would receive 20,000 tonnes of olives. Had they given up the 15,000 cars to make the olives themselves, they would have only made 15,000 extra tonnes. So by specialising in trading, they receive an extra 5,000 tonnes. Luxembourg also achieves output combinations for consumption that are beyond its PPF, with an extra 5,000 tonnes of olives to eat than if they had not specialised and traded. Trade is beneficial for both countries. We can also show the impact on global output of each country specialising in production of a good where it has comparative advantage, using a total output example like this. Total output with no specialisation in trade and equal division of resources into production of each good would mean 60,000 tonnes of olives are produced in Italy, 25,000 in Luxembourg, totalling 85,000. $30,000 cars are produced in Italy and 25,000 in Luxembourg, totalling 55,000. When countries consider the opportunity cost of production, they can choose to specialise. Trade allows countries to specialise as they can make more than they need in order to sell it to others. In olive production, Italy has a lower opportunity cost and possesses comparative advantage. Italy decides to increase production to 100,000 tonnes of olives and only produce 10,000 cars. In car production, Luxembourg has a lower opportunity cost and possesses comparative advantage. They decide to specialise entirely in car production, producing no olives and increasing car production to 50,000 cars. Olive output increases by 15,000 tonnes to 100,000 tonnes, and car output increases by 5,000 to 60,000. Therefore, this specialisation in the production of goods where countries have a lower opportunity cost, a comparative advantage, increases world output and consumption of both goods. And that is how the theory of comparative advantage can show the benefits of trade.